Hey, footy fans, welcome to the Point of Difference Rugby League podcast. I'm your host, Dave, and today we're going back in the day with a Gold Coast Seagulls, Cowboys original, man of steel. Mate, it's the one and only Adrian Vowles. How you going, brother?
I'm good, Dave. Really stoked to be on here. Actually, I love listening to your podcast. A lot of enjoyment, and you've interviewed some great guests so far.
Mate, it's so cool to finally have you on here. I know we've sort of been teeing this up for a while, but we finally got it over the line. And mate, you've had an unreal career, so it's the privilege is all mine. We're really looking forward to this myself. So, first question: what have you been up to, man? What have you been up to post footy? What are you doing with yourself?
I run a commercial cleaning business, Bella Group Services, and we do like pubs, clubs, shopping centres, and all that sort of stuff. So I've been doing that for the last 5 years. Started part of a bigger business, but I started Queensland up. So it's really good. A lot of footy connections come in to help, certainly
Yep.
in this business, which is what it's all about. And yeah, I've got 7 children, so I've got younger kids and older kids. So lots of kids sports and basketball, touch football, netball. So yeah, busy, busy, busy.
Right, 7 kids. What were you thinking?
I've worked out how it's happened now. Got the snip. I'm all good now.
Yeah, mate, you and me both. Yep. I've done my time changing nappies.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Oh, mate, that's funny. All right, man. So let's rewind the clock. Where did you grow up? What did you get up to as a young fella before, getting into footy?
I had the best childhood ever. I think I grew up on a 22,000 acre sheep and cattle property, and just amazing childhood where we had every animal you could ever think of, be it horses, cattle, sheep, chooks, ducks, geese, pet kangaroo, whatever. We had it, and
Okay.
I just had a ball. Like my pa and my dad did all the work on the property, and Nana, she did all the cooking and that. And Mum, when the girls went to school, Mum moved into Cunnamulla and lived there during the week, which I had to do once I reached school. But as a kid, I had a gun when I was 3. Yeah, motorbikes. I learned to
Wicked.
drive a car very early. Because you had to learn to drive a car. If something happened on the property, you had to learn to drive. And just every day was different, whether we branding cattle or shearing sheep or going and help fencing or anything like that. But it was just I was always doing something. I was always running around half the time barefoot, just
Yep.
having an absolute ball. And so that was where I started as a kid. And then I moved into town once school started during the week, and yeah, just first couple of years actually a bit rough. I got bullied a bit when I first couple of years. I didn't really hang around other kids, by my cousins and your niece, nephews and all that sort of sisters and that. And then got to school and thought I don't like this and bawled my eyes out. And I think that was a sign for people to think I was a bit soft. And then got bullied for a couple of years before Dad sent me to a bloke called Bill Johnson, who's the father of the famous Bulldogs trainer and player Billy Johnston. So
Right.
it
Yep.
was twice as tough as Billy Johnson, and learned to hold my hands up for it, so I could started defending myself against the bullies, and then didn't have any trouble after that. But I was probably the fittest 8-year-old on the planet.
Oh, that's brilliant. So we did the footy covered, man. Where did all that start?
I think I just turned 9. Because Dad was a football player and quite a good one, and Mum
Okay.
was very sporty as well. But they kept saying you're going to play, and I didn't want to play. I think I was too scared if I got tackled hard, I'd cry or something, and so I just didn't want to play. And then one day I just said, "That's it, I'm playing," and then I never looked back. I remember my very first game. I was fast and I made a break and I came to the fullback and he's crouched down, to tackle me, and I just hurdled him and then scored a try. And very proud of myself. I got off after the game and Dad ripped into me. He said, "That's just stupid doing that. You could break your neck." And it's like, oh.
Come
But
on,
anyway,
Dad. I just scored.
I know. But I was hooked from that day on. I was hooked from that day on. Chris Close, um, my vivid memory of going to a game, and Chris Close was playing for Cunnamulla. He come out, and because his wife's from Cunnamulla, and he come out and played a season. And this one game, he scored a ton of tries, and we that was a vivid memory of him. So then he went to Valleys the next year. So I sort of started watching Brisbane football because of him, and they were blue and white like Cunnamulla. And and Billy Johnson was at South, and yeah, I just from that day on, I just it was football, football, football in the winter, cricket in the summer. I played
Yeah.
most sports as a kid: baseball, touch, swam, squash, whatever, tennis, everything. So it was a really good childhood where you just did
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, man. No Wi-Fi back in those days. Get outside and be active.
Oh yeah, 100%. We never came in and as a you hear people say we didn't come in until it was dark, and then
Yeah.
ate your dinner, and then you go to school, you play some sort of sport before school, during lunch breaks. Like you were just active. There was no fat kids. Like everyone was lean
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
and just healthy.
Yeah. Mate, when I was a kid, I'd run around. We had this massive quarter-acre section, like for town, that was really good. And it had a little creek gully thing down the back. And I'd get like go play down there, get sticks and make some goalposts and like kick a rugby ball over it in the backyard all bloody afternoon. It was great. Those are
Uh,
good times.
it's just awesome, and you don't forget it either because you just had so much fun with your mates, and you learned lots of lessons. When you're the little kid, you got to play against the big kids and
Yeah.
earn your stripes, and which is how
Yeah.
it should be.
Yeah, man. So, just to jump ahead very quickly, there's an annual tournament named after you, the Adrian Vowles Cup. How cool is that having a tournament named after you? And more importantly, how awesome is it that there's a tournament to keep country footy alive, sort of, out your way?
Yeah, it's probably one of the most amazing things that I've been a part of. My good mate Sean Radnage, or Zorro as he's known, he's now the mayor out there. But he rang me up one day and said, "Oh mate, I want to." His son was turning 14 and there was no footy. He said, "I want to do a carnival and see if we can get some teams out and give these
Yep.
kids some footy, and we'll name it after you." And I said, "Mate, don't have to name it after me. Just I'm happy to." He goes, "No, no, no." Anyway, we had three teams the first year, and then it was in its 11th year this year, and we had
Wow.
49 teams, I think, this year. So,
Wow. That's
yeah,
amazing.
massive. So, yeah, very proud of it. Very proud. And my
That's
dad,
so cool.
actually, my dad in under 14s got under 14s and under 17s started as well. So, sort of probably just doing what he did as well.
Okay. So what was it, jumping back to your childhood, what was it about the game? Was it the contact, the running, scoring tries? What kept you coming back every week, for more pain, some might say, but it's fun pain. But did you love all that stuff back then?
Yeah, I was very competitive, very competitive. No, I was never allowed to be a bad sport, or would have got a
Okay.
boot up the ass. Would have got a boot up the ass from dad, but just hated losing. I was fast sort of back then, but I remember dad having a rugby league book, and it went through all the positions, fullback to because we only had ABC TV till I was 17, so we had one channel, and but the book went through fullback, center, wing, how to play those positions. And so I'd
Okay.
read the book and do the drills and learn how to sidestep. I learned how to fend from that book, swapping the ball in one hand, and like just the rugby league week was my Bible as well. I'd read
Oh,
it from
mate,
back to front and every week.
absolutely gold.
Still got a whole heap of. I got a bag full of them, all the old rugby league weeks, and yeah. So I watched the ABC game. We get one Brisbane game and one Sydney game, and I just watched it, but I also love the contact. I like being physical.
Yeah.
Not a big fella, but I like that as well. But I was competitive, and then I was lucky. I had really good coaches all through my junior career at home, and all of them made you work hard. You had to train hard.
Yeah.
No shortcuts. I was lucky to have my dad for 3 years and won a couple of grand finals with him. Just really good coaches. Even the last coach I had before I left, Jeff Wade, was just a great man manager. Just all. I was very lucky. Not one bad coach.
That's crazy good. Like in New Zealand, I think that's the difference between New Zealand and Australia. We don't have those coaches in our grassroots, like rural towns, and that's why New Zealand's always been little brother to big Australia. But that must have been awesome. So, what were those clubs you played for, and what was the journey to getting to first grade?
So the Cunnamulla Rams was my first club. So I played under eight it was under eight. So I think I was playing when I was 9. But and then the next year there was under 10s or under 12s. You sort of went up every 2 years. But they had an under 12 rep team, and I got picked when I was 9. And I think I got on the I was a wing. I got on the wing, but I think I made it because Dad was mates with the coach. But anyway, I made this under 12 side, and we won a carnival against city teams undefeated, and it was such a good team, and that just even made me love the game more. And then I moved to Charleville when I was 11, and then I got made captain of the school side, even though I'd only been there just by pure, I don't know how I got made captain. And then I sort of captained clubs then for nearly the rest of my career, really. And like just were lucky enough. And then once you reach 14, you had All Whites and Railways, which were the two Charleville teams, and one was red and white like St George, one was green and red like South, and they absolutely hated each other, And then you had Cunnamulla and a couple of teams. So I played 4 years for All Whites, and then the last year I changed to Railways because all my mates were playing for Railways, which went down like a lead balloon. And mum was like secretary of All Whites, and I've gone to Railways. She goes, you can't go, And I said, well, and Dad said, you do what makes you happy. And so I went and played for Railways, which I had, first of all, Tony Sheaf, who was an old school bush coach who was really good. And then he left town and Jeff Wade took over, and both amazing coaches. But Wadey, I then started playing A-grade when I was 16, and that was the making of me as a football player, because I'm playing against grown men who dead set wanted to kill me. And I was lucky I had tough men around me, and I learnt, so much. So sometimes I'd play a full game under 17s and a full game A-grade on the weekend, and and then we won the under 17 grand final with all my mates, and that was sort of. But I'd gone to a couple of. They used to have Queensland Rugby League camps every January in Brisbane, and I went to two of them when I was 16 and 17, and I sort of met people there who I'm still mates with today, like Steel Castleford, who's played plenty of footy. We're mates today from that camp. But one of the coaches there, when I was 17, he said, "You ever thought about leaving Charleville?" I went, "Oh, a little bit." He goes, "You should. I think you got something." I said, "Oh, do you really think so?" He said, "Yeah, mate." He said, and he was from Redcliffe, so I thought I'll go to Redcliffe.
Okay.
And then I ended up getting a job through my brother-in-law at the Gold Coast, so I just moved to the Gold Coast. I didn't have any offers or anything. I just said, I'm going to go to the Gold Coast, got an apprenticeship as a cabinet maker, and then finished school 1 week later on a Greyhound bus with $100 and a suitcase, and that was me. Left Charleville to have a crack.
Just like that. So is that when your Gold Coast Seagulls days come around? How did you get an opportunity with the Gold Coast and sign with them? What was that whole process and journey?
Well, that was a little bit of luck in it, but I played 1 year with the Tweed Seagulls, which is the local Group 18 side, and they were one of the richest clubs in Australia back then. And I played under 19s, and the coach was a bloke called Tommy Searle, and Michael Searle, the founder of the Titans, his dad, and he ended up, I ended up captaining that side. Had a really good year, and then I got a trial. I had to go to a camp. Billy Johnson was the trainer, flogged us, and then we played a game. And I played okay. Then in that was 89, 1990, we were going. They picked an under 21 squad in 1990 because in 1991 the under 21 team was going to come in. So we played a couple of games, and I started on the bench for all these trials. Couldn't get a start. Anyway, we were playing Steve Rogers, the late Steve Rogers' Group 18 rep team. So we'd warmed up. I'm sitting on the bench in my usual spot, and Steve comes over to our coach and said, "Oh, our 5'8" hasn't turned up. Have you got a 5'8"?" And he just straight away pointed at me and said, "Yeah, take him." So I'm going, because Steve Rogers was one of my idols as a kid. So I was playing in the centres when I was younger, and I called myself Steve Rogers or Mark or Reg Gaznia, because someone else had said it. So I've gone, how good's this? I'm playing for Steve Rogers. So I went and played against my team, scored 2 tries and set 3 tries up. I then because of that, I got a trial the next week for the Gold Coast Seagulls in reserve grade against the Broncos. Wow. And I had a good game and got a contract. That's how I got my contract.
That's an amazing story. Like, wow, what were the chances of that?
Just like it was meant to be. It was absolutely meant to be.
I hope you bought the guy a beer who didn't show up, the 5'8", who you got his jersey.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. Didn't know him at the time. I was just going, oh, how good is this? But I was just stoked because I would have ran for a wall if Steve Rogers had said run for a wall. So yeah, it's just amazing. And then I get a I got my first contract was $2,000, I think, and a heap of training gear. And I didn't care about the money. I got all this training gear because we never got that in Charleville, so I was stoked.
Mate, that's insane. So it was just $2,000, and you're a cabinet maker. Were you still working as a cabinet maker
Yeah,
and playing reserve grade? Is that how it
yeah.
all
So
started out?
I used to work 10-hour days and then go to training and just get absolutely flogged.
Oh
Like
mate.
we got flogged. Like every Tuesday, you just got flogged, and you've just worked 10 hours, drive to training, and just get towed up with 800s or something, and yeah, it was crazy. And I was lucky because I lived with my sister to start with. Then I moved in with a family, Davidson family, who are friends, and live with them, and they were amazing to me as well, and which certainly helped. But yeah, so I played reserve grade. I played reserve grade 1990, 91, and 92. I played 3 years of reserve grade. And back in those
Yeah.
days, you sat on the bench for
Yes.
first grade. If you played half a game of reserve grade, I sat on the bench for reserve grade over 20 times and never
Wow.
never got a run. Never got one run. It's like, oh my God. And you
Thanks,
just,
coach.
oh, but you're sitting there, and we played Parramatta one day in 1990, and they're flogging us 60 to, and all that, Kenny, Sterling, all those idols, and I'm going, just give me 1 minute, like 1 minute to get on the field, and you just never got the call up, and you just go, oh my God, and then it's just, and then and then you start doubting yourself as well, and you're going, oh, and 92, I had a really good year in 92, and Wally still wouldn't pick me, and um, I got picked actually. My first game was the Great Britain game. Where I
Okay,
marked John Devereaux, as I told you, and marked John
that's
Devereaux, and that
right.
was my first ever first grade game. So that was pretty cool.
So was that when they came over as a touring side and played you
Yeah,
guys?
yeah.
Okay. How did that go down for you?
It's amazing. But I still had to work that day. The work wouldn't give me a day off. I still had to do me. I think I only worked 8 hours that day, and then went and played a game. But it was pretty amazing. Like that year in '92, we had the first coach who really in senior grade taught me stuff was Grant Bell. He came to the club, the Cowboys coach, and he was amazing. And in our 21 side, they had myself, Scotty Sattler, Jamie Goddard, Jeremy Slosh, that
Yes.
all went on. Kev Campion, sorry, all went on to play Origin out of that side. And then you had
Wow.
Andrew Whittington, Lee Groves, I think Ian Doonerman. Uh, there's 14 or 15 went on to play first grade. So it was a gun side. And if we'd have kept that
Yeah.
side together that year, we'd have gone close to winning it. But a few of us went up.
Crazy.
So I ended up going back up to reserve grade. But yeah, it was such a good team, such a good bunch of players. And we're all mates still today, which is awesome.
So when you turned up at Gold Coast, like, and you're playing reserve grade, were you training with the first grade side as well? And were you just like in awe of being around like Wally Lewis and Dale Shearer
Yeah.
and Brent Todd and
Yeah.
all these old boys that have been around and done it for ages?
We all trained together like back in those days. And I remember in that first year back in 1990, we'd be doing 400s or something, and I'd be trying to go fast, and then I'd have some old ones go, "Slow down, you silly young bugger, slow down," and then you'd slow down, then you get in trouble with another one for not having a crack, and you're going, "Oh my God," which is probably says a little bit about the some of the culture, but so I didn't know what to do, but you had blokes who I was shit scared of, like Ronnie Gibbs, I was shit scared of, and
Yeah.
a bloke called Jimmy Cowell, and but I had heaps of blokes looked after me who are mates with today. Danny Sharp, Dave Chapman, just Ray Herring, all those sort of older
Yep.
style fellas, and Benny Gonzalez was an awesome bloke as well. They just looked after me as a kid.
Yep. So when you got your first grade debut, like in the New South Wales Rugby League, what are your memories of it? How tough was it out there playing against the big boys? And you know, how did it all go down for you? When did you find out and all of that stuff?
Well, it's funny. There was two debuts sort of thing. There was I made a debut in the Two East Challenge, which they had back then,
Right.
against Canterbury at Suncorp, and I marked Jared McCracken. So I was absolutely
Oh,
shitting bricks because he's
mate, this is a
massive,
gun.
massive. Yeah. So
Yep.
I I marked him, had a really good game, put some good shots on it, and then from that I got picked the next week on the bench against the very first game against West. So we go to
Nice.
Campbelltown, and honestly, we're warming up, and they're just giving it to us, like abusing us, the supporters. And I'm just going, holy fuck, what have I let myself in for here? Because they would just get, it was crazy. I'm just going. So, but it was such an experience, to play NRL. Like that's what you dream of, and I got to
Yeah.
do that. And Wally was my coach, who was my idol, and and just
Far
I had a ball. So I played the first three games off the bench, and then I got dropped for the fourth game because Wally wanted to put another forward on the bench because he only had two fresh reserves back then, and
Yes.
so I had to go back to reserve grade. And then I had a really good game, and then I came back up the next week and never left. So yeah, and
Wicked.
then yeah, it's good.
So that was 1993. She was a pretty long road though for first grade for the Seagulls that year. I think you got the one win for the whole
Yeah, one
season.
win. Yeah, I know, and it's funny. I know you're talking to Campo about it, and but it's funny. Every game I thought, because that was just my mindset, we could win every game. That's how, even though we
Yep.
didn't, but we just, I yeah, didn't gel. And Wally, I would have done anything for Wally. As a coach, he probably sometimes couldn't get what he had in his head, onto the training field. But yeah, I didn't care. I loved it. I couldn't care if we didn't win one game. I absolutely loved it. It was just, and to play, Campo and Jimmy Goddard and Sats, we all played some first grade together,
Yeah.
and the boys, and it was just, yeah, amazing. And they had a really good year. Just couldn't believe it.
It's cool. So, like you said, Campo came on the show and he was like, "Yeah, we didn't really care that we lost. It was just a great club to be around, and we all enjoyed our time." Like, who were the guys you hung out with and had a good time with?
Well, so there was 14 of us lived in one resort at
Oh my
at
God.
Eleonora.
I can
Uh,
imagine how that went.
so yeah, I can't say stories on here, but
No.
myself, Lee Groves, and Russell Woozy, and we lived together. So and became such good mates. And Paul Gailey, who's a real good mate of mine as well. Campo, Robin Thorne, Paul Martin, Steve Jackson, uh, Jimmy Goddard, all lived in this resort. So we'd play. We were doing Campo and that worked for the council. We were doing development stuff. So I didn't have. I finished my academy, and then I quit it. I quit that as soon as I finished. I hated it, and then so we'd play tennis, they had pools, but we had so much fun together. Where we just hung out together the whole time, and just really really good mates. And we had some fun at Melba's nightclub, and just yeah, but we were we all just enjoyed each other's company, and as I said, still do to today.
So cool, man. To carry those friendships on like past footy. And it's been a while now from those times. Good. It's been a while.
Wish I could
So
go back.
you actually scored 5 tries in your debut season. What was the feeling like, picking up a few tries and getting to the end of the season and realize, like, you know what? I did it. I played first grade. We didn't go so great, but, are these some of the dreams coming true for you at that point?
Yeah, well, I remember my first tries because Campos passed the ball to me to score. It was against Manly in my first sort of run on game, and yeah, it was they were hard to come by sometimes. And but yeah, I just got to the end of the year. I got Player of the Year as well at the end of the year, and it
Nice.
was just an amazing feeling. And you sort of pinch yourself. I was more happy for Mum and Dad, that for all the sacrifices that they made for me, all the traveling they did, and just you know, for me, I never made any Queensland sides or anything as a kid. I made rep sides, and sometimes I'd have to get on a bus and go 5 hours, 6 hours to
All right.
training. Yeah, and just it was crazy the distances. So I was proud of my journey because I had to leave Charleville, leave my mates
Yeah.
to move away to make it. So it was, if you believe it, you can do it.
Man. So 94 rolled around. Things improved slightly. You got 3 wins that season, but it was another tough year, in terms of the Seagulls. But what was the general feeling around your side? And were you still enjoying your footy? even though the results weren't quite coming still.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, what could have happened was Wally wanted to stay on as coach as such, but Grant Bell would have been the actual coach. And I think
Okay.
if the club had done that, 94, we would have won a ton of games because just the structures Belly had. And but Harves was a great bloke, absolutely champion fella, and he was coaching Tweed Seagulls when I first moved to the Gold Coast. One of the hardest men I've ever met. He just brought us all together. Craig Coleman came as a halfback, and he just got us around the park. He's clever with the ball, and
Yeah.
Brent Todd, Dale Shearer. So we won. I remember we drew our first game against Penrith, and we beat the Broncos at Carrara.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
good win.
I could not kick a goal. You were talking about Campo. Well, I was actually the first choice kicker, and I couldn't kick a goal. I missed him in front, and then I went to Melba's and had a drink at Melba's. I went to kick a can in the gutter, and I missed it too. I just couldn't kick anything. I was terrible. Like, oh. But
Oh, mate.
we had some good time. Like we had some good wins, and yeah, it's just I enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it.
It was a pretty big thing that happened for you that season. I can see behind you your Queensland State of Origin jersey. Pretty special. Um, you had a bit of an interesting story to get to State of Origin. How did you get picked, and what were all the events leading up to making your Origin debut?
Oh, I remember. So the game I got picked from, we played Newcastle, and it was a TV game. Luckily, again, um, it's meant to be. I had a cracker of a game, got player of the match, and then Donny Ferner later in the week said, "Oh, you might get a call up for Origin." I went, "Oh, okay, of course." Um, and then laying in bed Saturday morning, the phone rings, and Ross Livermore, the QRL chairman, rings me and says, "Mate, you're on standby for Steve Renouf.
Wow.
He's got to do an injury. Uh, what do you call it? Do a couple of run throughs, see if you can play. Otherwise, you're in." So I'm gone. Gave mum and dad a ring and just to let them know. And 20 minutes
Yeah.
later, the phone rings and he says, "Oh, you're in, mate. You're in." And I went,
Wow.
"Oh, just a most amazing feeling, that you could have." Like, so going back to 1980, I listened to the first game on the radio with Dad. Dad had told me
Yeah.
about how New South Wales always beat Queensland with Queensland players. And I said to myself after listening to that game that I'll play State of Origin one day. I said that in 1980, and it took me 14 years, but I so I've mate, I had a Daihatsu 3-cylinder charade, and just lucky to get there because the clutch
Tiny.
was buggered. Didn't have any money, and bought a pair of shoes, bought a pair of joggers. Thought I need new joggers. Got into camp. They gave you new joggers. I'm going, oh, and then I got all my gear and just as you do, put it on the front of the mirror. But there was Wally and Mal and Chobby Close as the
Wow.
manager, and Alfie and Trevor
Yeah.
Gilmester and Billy Moore and Mick Hancock and all those blokes, and
So
just
you picturing
crazy.
yourself.
Oh, mate, it is the best. I just gone. Oh, then you sort of half doubt yourself. Oh, I don't belong here. But then you have a training run and you go, this is pretty cool. Alfie was amazing. Mick Hancock really took me under his wing as well. He was
Oh,
good, and
nice.
it was just crazy because that was the Friday, I think, and then I even went out on the drink Saturday night because you sort of go out and have a drink. They tell you to go out and have a drink, but it was because and having Choppy there as well was pretty cool. And because when I won Player of the year before, I told Wally that I'll see him next year, meaning I'll see him in Origin, and so
Yeah.
came true. So it's pretty cool.
Mate, that's amazing. Were you bricking it, or were you just excited to get out there?
I was both excited and bricking it. It was just once I got the training run, a couple of training runs, it was good. But and then you had to survive Wally's bus driving before that because he was just crazy. He had a handbrake it around the corner and just it was. I've never laughed so much with Alfie and Kevy, like just
Yeah.
non-stop comedians. Like it was so good.
That's so cool, man. What great memories. So, like, let's talk about the actual match. You're running out the tunnel. your heart's probably pounding. There's 87,000 people, squeezing in Melbourne. Like, mate, what's the atmosphere like? What's going through your mind? Come on, it must have been
I,
insane.
I, I was shitting myself because Alfie Langer was vomiting in the toilet, right?
He
And
does that, eh?
yeah, and I didn't know this, so I'm going, shit, holy shit, like, is it that bad? Like, oh my God. And then something, then I got told he does it all the time, and that's sort of half helped me a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah,
I had to I wait a while to get in to get on, but when I got the tap on the shoulder, it was, and it's such a big place, the MCG. It's like
yeah,
just an amazing place, so much all history there,
yeah,
and then to get on when you finally get over the sideline, and you know you're a bona fide Origin player. You're a Queenslander. It's
yeah.
hard to put in words. But it wouldn't matter if it was Queensland, New South Wales, wherever you're playing for. You just to know you're a state of origin player. They can't take that off you, and
No,
yeah, it was just crazy.
mate, they don't pick you unless you're worthy, mate. It's just
Uh,
incredible. Like, as a fan to watch, it's unreal. Like, the impact, the skill, it's the best of the best. Like, far out, man. It's crazy good.
it was fast, and I've said this before, but I tackled Bradley Clyde, and it was like I was hitting a concrete wall. I tackled him before, but it was like he'd grown another leg, and uh, yeah, and then I just look back and think of all the people that helped me on that journey. Most importantly,
Yeah,
mum and dad, but my sisters, my friends, all the
yeah.
coaches I've had, all the coaches who didn't pick me. So I said I never made a Queensland side before that. So this is that was in Campo's the same. Shane Webke's there's a few that haven't done that, and yeah, it was just we lost the game obviously, but it was just amazing. And I got tackled. Told the story a few times. I got tackled by Ricky Stewart and Laurie Daly, and
Yeah.
Ricky's giving a go. And then Ricky said, "Don't worry about him, Laurie. He won't be here next game anyway." And then I'm going, he was right. I didn't make the next game, but I was just going, how good's this? Ricky Stewart and Laurie Daly, Ricky Stewart sledging me in an Origin game. How good's this? Like, just stoked.
Oh,
He
good.
thought he's probably thought he was getting under my skin. And I'm just going, man, this is the best. This is the best.
You're, you're like me. It's like, meeting your heroes. You're just like, this
Oh,
is awesome. You can say whatever you want. I don't
oh.
care.
Well, I remember, sorry, go back to a reserve row game years before. Fatty Vorton was playing for East when after
Yep.
he left Manly. Might have been
Yep.
1990. And during the game, he winked at me. And I'm going, oh my God. Fatty Vorton's just winked at me like I didn't know whether to go and get his autograph. And because going back to those days, you played a lot of legends in reserve grade, like Graham Wynn. I remember playing against him and players like
Unreal.
that who he would try to kill you, Graham Wynn, but you play against all these legends, and then these are players that I watched growing up, like Benny Elias, for example, in Origin. I hated him in Origin. Like, then I've got to play against him, and
Wow.
Laurie, Ricky, all those players. It's amazing.
What position did they throw you out on the field? Were you actually playing centre when you went on?
No, I played 5'8". I come on for Kevy and played
Okay.
5'8", which was pretty cool to have Big Mal outside you. So
Yeah, it's not a bad place to be, eh? With a
yeah,
beam truck, right next to you. He's unreal. Yeah.
it was just amazing. It was just everywhere I looked. Trevor Gilmester, Andrew G, like Kerrod Walters, all these Gary Larson, all these legends. Mark Coyne, just everywhere you looked. It's funny. During the week, I was with Julian O'Neill, and we've gone. He was sponsored by Puma, and we've gone
Yeah.
to a Puma photo shoot, and it was Shane Warne and Melinda Gainsford, who was a sprinter, and turns out we end up knowing he was the same people. So we've gone to a photo shoot, and I met Warney
Yeah.
and and I thought how cool. I thought that was cool enough, just to do
Yeah,
that,
man.
and then yeah. So Julian was actually really good. He was good in that camp as well, and Gordy Tallis made his debut that game as well. Big Darren Fritz too, I think.
Oh, yeah, Darren Fritz, mate. He could
Yeah,
play. Oh my God, I'd
yeah.
hate to tackle him.
Good fellow, really good fellas. So good.
So, you said you only played the one Origin match, but obviously, like, it's so clear that holds a seriously special place in your heart. That must have been amazing.
I'm kicking myself because they give you two jerseys, right? And I was too shy to ask for the second jersey.
Oh, really?
Um, and someone's got it because it's turned up somewhere in Gladstone. I know someone, and but I wished now I had just piped up and said, "Oh, I can have the jersey to give to mum and dad," but I was too shy. I didn't want to ask
Oh,
for it.
mate. Oh, mate, but you were out there. They could watch the highlight reels forever, mate. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty
Well,
incredible to meet an Origin player for me. That's awesome.
I couldn't afford to fly mum and dad there, and I asked my club, Seagulls, for some money from a contract to pay for mum and dad to come to the game. They wouldn't give me any money, so I couldn't afford to fly mum and dad to the game. Like I was on stuff all money
Yeah,
as well. So which is once I heard what other players were getting that were in the team, I'm going, holy, getting ripped
yeah,
off.
man. That must have been very frustrating. So, 1995 rolls around. There's four new clubs, and the ARL's born. You decided to sign on with the Cowboys. So, why'd you leave the Seagulls, and how did the Cowboys deal come about?
Came about through Grant Bell, who was my 21s coach and who I
Okay.
really respected as a coach. And I think there was about eight of us went from the Gold Coast to the Cowboys, and I liked it as well. It was a big country town. I had a
Yeah.
lot of offers. I had offers from nearly every club to go, and
Really?
yeah,
Nice.
but Sydney scared me.
Okay.
I didn't know if I could live in Sydney. And looking back, maybe I probably should have made that call and gone to someone like the Bulldogs or someone like that.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, I loved my time at the Cowboys. It was, again, a great group of blokes. The crowds were amazing. We averaged about 21,000 crowds that year.
Crazy.
Like it
Massive.
was unbelievable. They're the best supporters in Australia.
Yeah. So, what was it like to be part of like that whole new squad coming together? The media, the hype, the fanfare, one club, one sort of town, all of that. It must have been massive for Townsville to get their own team. Like, what was that experience like for you?
It was so good, and all the players, like, our training base was an old stables because it was at the old race thing.
Really?
So Paulie Galia, who come from Gold Coast, he was a brickie, so he bricked in the gym. He made a gym
Okay.
basically, and you know,
Wow.
and the week of the first game, they had to put it. We had to. Grant Bell called us in and said, "Oh, yeah, we no training today. We've got to go out and lay all the turf on the hills." So we didn't train. We went and laid all the turf around the ground so that
Wow.
otherwise the game wouldn't have gone ahead on the weekend. So and then it rained on that first night, the first game, and half the turf slid down the hill anyway. So but yeah, it was pretty. We were very tight knit. It was everyone. There was no egos. It was good. It was really good bunch of blokes.
Well, you said you had Grant Bell, through your younger days, but obviously he was the coach of the first Cowboys side. So how did he manage to prepare you guys and put a brand new side together? Because that's a mammoth task for any coach. Like, how did he cope with that?
Yeah, he did pretty well, Belly. Marty Bella made it a bit hard for him, I thought, but Marty liked a bit of conflict and
Yeah.
tended to question Belly a bit. So Belly, that was one of his hurdles that he was struggling a little bit with, was dealing with Marty. But everyone else is good. And the beauty about when everyone's coming to a new team, you all mix together, because you're all, bar the ones that are from there, you're all mix and you go to barbecues together. And so we were pretty tight
Nice.
knit. You know, we only won 2 games that year, but it was all about the fact that we'd moved there. A lot of people wouldn't move there because it's a long way away.
Yep.
But we're proud. We're proud that we're the first ever players to go there.
Absolutely. So what was that experience like running out in front of like 23,000 people? Like there's that massive build up, it's very much like when I asked the Warriors players for their first match, it's the same for you guys. Like it's huge. The
Oh,
first ever Cowboy side to run out, it must have been an electric experience.
well, that first game, I remember we got there. There was a band playing. It was like a carnival atmosphere, and there was so many people there well before the game, even reserve grade started.
Right.
Um, it was, everyone was on the drink. Everyone was so friendly, and when we ran out, it was deafening. Like Laurie Spina let us out. It was just deafening, and you know, I I unfortunately got sent off in the first early in that game.
Yes,
First
you
time in
did.
my life. First time in my life, and so I didn't get to experience too much of that game, which is a bit embarrassing. But before that, it was really good, really
Yeah. You were there, mate. You were there. So, what was the feeling like when you guys finally did get a win? Like you said, you only got the 2 wins for the year, but just how massive was it? Because I hear there's a bit of an incident involving yourself, a horse, and the sheds after the game.
good. Yeah, that was the first home game. So we won away at Illawarra, which was when we got back to the airport. There was so many people at the airport; it was just crazy. And then we beat West in that home game, yeah. And then our mascot, the horse, they brought him into the dressing room. So I thought, well, I'm a country boy, I'm a cowboy. You can't be a cowboy unless you ride a horse. So I hopped on the horse and had a beer, and luckily got the photo to prove it.
How good's
Yeah,
that?
it's been Bossy even brought it up, did a story on it a couple of years back on his show, and which is pretty cool.
Man, I love Andrew Ross. He's a legend. Great commentator. So yes, 2 wins for the season. Unfortunately, a wooden spoon in the inaugural season, and on top of that, all the Super League wars breaking out, and rugby league's in disarray. Unheard of amounts of money are being thrown around. You're right in the thick of it. Like, what was your personal journey through the Super League war, and how did it affect you and the Cowboys as a club?
Yeah, well, we played the Raiders. I had a really good game against the Raiders. And then I got a phone call. That was a Saturday night. I got a phone call Sunday say you got to go to the casino and meet. We'd got wind of it, but go to the casino and meet a Super League. And you walk into the room. He says, "I'm giving you this much. Here's a check for this much." And I'm going, "Oh." And I tried to ring my manager, and I couldn't get
Yeah,
hold of my manager, so I sort of had to make a decision there. And then it was more money than I was on, and way more money than I was on, and I just I signed there and then, which is probably. If I had my time again, I'd like to hear that. I'd like to, because I had still had goals to play Origin, and
yeah,
if I had my time again, I would have listened to the ARL as well, because I would have loved nothing better to have been to play it in Fatty's side, because I know I was a chance, because they rang my manager and said,
yeah,
had I and I said, yeah, he signed Super League. So, but for me, once I'd signed, I didn't think too much. I just went, all right, well, that's what I'm doing, and majority of us signed anyway. I think Marty Bella, a couple others were the only ones that signed ARL.
okay.
And I like what the ideas they had. Yeah, the whole thing could have been done so much better. Obviously, it nearly destroyed the game, but in the end, it also made it stronger, I think.
Yeah.
But if looking back, if they'd have kept the Reds, kept the Rams, I think we'd be such a big force. We're a big force now as NRL, but we'd be bigger, I think, if they'd have done and not got rid of those two clubs.
Yeah, it was a shame. I think everyone loved those clubs, even if you didn't support them as your main side. I don't know, just because they were new clubs and they weren't necessarily the strongest. Well, I'm a sucker for an underdog. I
Yeah,
love, supporting the clubs that, don't necessarily go
yeah, yeah.
so well. But were they because they were quite aggressive in their approach to Super League to sign you guys? Were they just like, right, you got to sign now or you're going to miss out? Was there all that sort of carry on going on with them?
Yeah, from memory, yeah. And then you go on, oh God, there's more money than I'm on now. God, and then you sort of. So as I mean, there was that side of it. But then once I signed him, and well, that's what I'm doing. But then when I watched Fatty's Origin Queensland side win 3-0, and think, well,
Yeah,
no amount of money, if you play it, wouldn't matter. That would be so much better than
yeah,
any of the money you got. So, but anyway,
yeah. But I guess the ultimate thing that came from Super League was that players got paid to be
yeah,
professional full time and
yeah.
decent money for all the knocks and training you do. Like, I mean, I think all you guys deserve the money. Like, there's no way I'm doing that. No way.
Well, when you think about it as well, you think about Origin as being a beast, for example, since
Yep.
1980. They've been getting big crowds in 19. Where's all that money go? And you think about that, and you go, well, so the players could have got a bit more money before then. So and
I
and
think so.
probably should have gone professional well before it did.
Well, I think it's fair to say that's when the ARL did open up the checkbook finally to start signing players up before Super League grabbed them, like the Johns brothers, for example. They were on like $20,000 and $15,000 a
Yeah.
season, and then all of a sudden they were massive money because otherwise Super League was going to grab. Like they were ready to go. But yeah, Phil Gould, he stopped them at the last minute and signed them to ARL. Yeah.
Well, so the year I made first grade, my sign on was 2 grand first year, 5 grand, 7.5 grand. The year I played first grade, I was on no sign on. Anything I made that year was my sign on for the next year. So I ended up making 20 grand in bonuses. That was my sign on when I played Origin. I remember
Wow.
telling Julian O'Neill what I was on, and he laughed. He laughed, and I went, "Yeah." But it wasn't about them. It wasn't always about the money. I'd have played for free if I had to.
For
Uh,
sure. Yeah.
I
That's what I
loved it.
love about a lot of you boys from back then. It was you played for the jersey. Like there wasn't so much club hopping like there is now. And like, you guys really did play because you loved the game. I mean, players love the game now, but
Yeah,
I just think that it was different back then. It's different times.
yeah,
Yeah.
different.
Right.
So
So halfway through the 1996 season, you were made captain of the Cowboys. And you mentioned earlier you were a captain in your younger days. So how much did you enjoy leading the team around and all the responsibilities that come with being captain?
I actually I captained them the whole season. I got made captain in the preseason. I captained the
Okay.
last 2 games of '95, and then I got made captain by Graham Lowe, who'd come in. And funny story. So the Cowboys have got their history wrong. They did a captain's walk Hall of Fame. Your name. So I was talking to the CEO. And I said, "Oh, is my name on the Walk of Fame?" He goes, "Oh no, it's only if you're named captain." I said, "I was. So I was named in November
Okay.
'95." And he goes, "Well, yeah." I went, "Yeah, I captained every game in '96 and the last 2 games in '95, which didn't matter." And he goes, "Oh, we got told." I said, "I'll send you the paper clippings if you want." So,
Really?
and to this day, they've changed the plate, but they've still got Dean Skiffalidi and myself as captain. And I captained every game in '96, which sort of irks me a little bit because, yeah, other clubs wouldn't forget her captain. And like I've never been asked to do anything at the Cowboys ever. Not one thing ever. Which sort of you go, well, those older players back then, you shouldn't forget your history. So that was probably disappointing on their part. But
Yeah.
yeah, to be made captain was amazing, like amazing honour. Graham Lowe was a new coach, and he was he's more inspirational stuff. Mark Graham was his assistant coach who you had on, who I loved.
Yeah.
I loved him as a kid. I idolised him. I liked all the Kiwi players like Clayton Friend and
Oh,
Olsen,
mate,
Pagaro.
guns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Mark Graham was elite, yeah, and then all of a sudden he's at our club, and I'm like a fanboy, but you can't really say that you're a fanboy of him. But I just couldn't believe how big he was. Like he's just this massive human, biggest
Yeah.
arms I've ever seen.
Chiseled as.
Oh,
Yeah.
but he's good fella, great fella.
He's a great man. Love it. So again, oh, by the way, I'll have to contact the Rugby League project. That's a website where they have all the stats on everything, like your whole career, captains, every match you captained or whatever. And they had you down as halfway through the season. You got the captaincy in '96. So
Every
they're not up
game,
to date either.
didn't miss a game.
All right, I got to tell them.
Yeah,
So, again, 1996, another tough year for the Cowboys. 17th place finish, unfortunately. You played with a torn groin, a hernia, and even after signing with Super League, Tim Sheens gives you your marching orders, and you're essentially left without a club. And I actually read that Tim Sheens was pretty brutal on his delivery at telling you you've been axed from the club. So I want what happened, what exactly went down, and how hard was it for you to process all of that news and figure out what to do next?
yeah. We're all in a room, and then they had Super League had to name their top 25, I think, and so he's named the top 25, Tim. And I couldn't wait for Tim to come. I couldn't believe it. Like, what a coach!
Yeah,
I couldn't wait to get there. We even shared the same managers, which is how bad it was. And then I just couldn't wait to play under him. Like again, love the Raiders. And
yeah.
so he didn't name me, and then he goes, "So I suppose you want to talk to me?" And I went, "Oh, yeah, that'd be nice." So we go into his room, and he's sort of sitting at his desk, and he said, "Yeah, you're not big enough, not strong enough, not fast enough, and you've got limited ability."
Far out.
And that's exactly what he said. And I was just going, holy
Brutal.
shit. Yeah, like, and then he said, I'm going to bring a center in who can score tries. And I'm thinking, well, I played the last 6 games, 7 games as a lock, which is where I was always going to end up.
Yep.
And which it's okay to get rid of me, but just don't just say it. Just don't, you don't have to belittle me or
Be
and that's
diplomatic. You know?
yeah, just so we don't you're not in my plans, whatever reason. Don't have to be brutal like that. And then so then I went, oh geez, what am I gonna do here? And it looked like I was gonna go to the Warriors, I was gonna go to the Bulldogs, and sort of all fell through. And I'm ringing up Michael O'Connor at Super League saying, hang on, you're telling everyone you're looking after your players. Well, I haven't got a club. And then yeah, I was shattered, absolutely shattered. I wanted to sledge him so much. I wanted to,
Yeah.
because a reporter rang me. That's at half an hour later. So a reporter already knew.
Okay.
Dad always said, "Don't burn your bridges." And I went, oh. And I didn't say anything. And I was shattered. Yeah, absolutely shattered.
That's
And then
so
I got,
tough.
oh, it was, and it was, you don't expect it. Like I'd had me op and all that sort of stuff, and I thought, oh, well, Tim Sheens is coming, start again, and it'd be
Yep.
cool. And so yeah, then I was sort of left in limbo until I got a phone call from the late Daryl Vanderveld to see if I'd like to go to Castleford in England.
Okay. So with you having signed with Super League, how could Tim Sheens just say, see you later? Like, was your contract just null and void all of a sudden?
No, you still get your money. You still get your money, but he said if you basically even said if you stick around to fight it out, well, you'll have to train by yourself.
Oh
Like
my
it was,
God.
yeah, it was
That's
like,
rough.
and I'm just going, wow. And then I went, spoke to a couple of people, and then yeah, Darryl Vanderbilt rang, and I went, I'd supported Cass in '86 when they won the Challenge Cup, and thought,
Yep.
oh, we'll go over for a year, and that's what we did. Went from the trained up. There was because he got rid of a whole heap of us. So there was a whole heap of us going to England. So we all trained together before we went to England,
Okay.
and then all went over to different clubs in the UK.
Nice. So what sort of contract did they offer you in comparison to say the NRL or the Super League?
Oh, they just pay. Oh, I can't remember what it was, but it was still good money. But then they'd pay so much, and then Super League tops the rest up. So it wasn't too
Okay.
bad. And so yeah, we went over the middle of winter. It was just culture shock to start with.
I bet.
Castleford's a very old club. And the grandstand, like it's old. I loved it. Like but we lost 11 games straight when I went over there, and the crowd just hammered me. I'm just going, oh my god! If I didn't have Bundaberg rum, I would have
Right.
struggled.
That's pretty rough. Like, was it freezing cold? Like, you come from like, Queensland, it's
Oh,
warm as. What was it like?
it was so cold. You're not allowed to wear gloves either, so you could be rugged up as much as you can with your beanie and jumpers and tracksuits, but you couldn't wear gloves, and your hands are just freezing. The first night session, this Lee Badowskis threw a face ball and hit me right in the nose, and I wanted to punch him because it hurt that much because it
Yeah.
hurt so badly, and I was like, oh man. And then when we were losing, I'm getting absolutely flogged by the supporters. I'm going, why am I here? Like this is, what have I done to deserve this? Poor me, poor me, poor me. But yeah, luckily it turned around.
But do you have any feelings at that point? You're like, you've been at the Seagulls who won nothing, Cowboys won nothing, and then you're
Yeah.
at Castleford, you've lost 11 in a row. Like, what are you feeling at that time?
I was thinking, yeah, I won 5 grand finals at home as a kid. I'm thinking, why all of a sudden I can't win anything? And that's exactly how I thought. I'm going, this is me. I'm cursed. I'm cursed. Blooming hell. And then Stuart Raper, they got rid of John Joyner, who was good. I like JJ, but Stuart Raper came over and just took it all the way back to basics, like Grant Bell did many years ago. And then all of a sudden we started playing better and
Yeah.
started winning the games, and we escaped relegation with about 2 weeks to go. And supporters were crying in the stands, like
Wow.
it meant so much. And um,
Yeah.
yeah, we were lucky a little bit because we had that World Club Challenge. We sort of bonded on that World Club Challenge, so we came back a better team.
Nice.
Just yeah, it was amazing. Like, and then we just sort of built up every year after that. We just got better players, and yeah, it was awesome.
Speaking of players, you played with Kiwi and Canterbury legend Brendan Tudor, the baby-faced assassin. He's super popular here in Canterbury. Everyone loves him. How did you guys get on? And what was he like to play alongside?
Yeah, well, I was a bit wary of him. I'd only ever heard of it. The media sort of portrayed him as a villain, and so I
Yeah,
was a little bit nervous for him. But he's the best bloke ever, like absolute champion fella. I enjoyed having beers with Toots. He's really and love nothing better than looking beside me and knowing he's there because
he's on your
he's just
team.
got these crazy eyes, and but then he steps back over the sideline. He's back to but we're very we're very competitive like that. Like I'm a bit like that myself, but you get over the sideline. But yeah, he was awesome, good fella, and yeah,
Yeah,
tough as nails.
right. Okay, so was it your debut for Castleford? You actually played in a Challenge Cup match. Was were you always playing in the halves, or was that just somewhere they put you as your new club? Like, because you were mostly a centre.
Yeah, I played six all sort of juniors and that. Then I played six when I come into grade, and then so I went over as a 5'8", but
Okay.
we didn't have much structure, and Casper Tony Smith, the halfback, was more a attacking halfback, so it was sort of left to me to guide him around. That sort of was my forte, but um, yeah, we sort of struggled a bit with that. And then when we were losing, I was just copping it all. Like I was to
Really?
blame for every loss, and but it's and the harder you try, sometimes the worse you get as well. But it's just yeah, you just man, I just thought I'd done. I was unlucky or something that happened. I jinxed or something.
Did you walk under a ladder or something?
That's what I was thinking. No worry. I was like, oh my god. But the blokes were really good. We had blokes like Lee Crooks, just absolute
Yeah.
champions. And Danny Orr, who was a young fella then, we came in together. So we're mates to this day, like really good mates. And I got to know the supporters. I started going to the they have a Monday night sponsors night where
Yep.
Mick Morgan, famous commentator over there, um, he would commentate the games, but then he'd do this Monday night and you'd play bingo. And so I was
Yep.
the only player that really went to that. So I got to know all the supporters, and all of a sudden they're going, "Oh, he's not a bad bloke."
Yep.
And all those people that went to that Monday night supporters, I'm still friends with them to this day.
Awesome.
Um, and then I got to know about the club as well. I got to know, well, this is what it means to them, so it made me better as well. And
Okay.
then they said, we don't hate you. There's certain people that are just part-time supporters, but we don't hate you. And da da da. Da. And yeah, I loved it. So every Monday, rain, hail, or shine, I went there and had a beer and watched and played bingo and just had a laugh. And it was good.
Brilliant, man. So your second season, you switched to playing lock, like you said, you were always going to become a lock. And
Yeah.
then the Tigers start playing some great footy. You're consistently winning. Like that had to be a good feeling after years of just
Uh,
ducking.
I've just gone, we got we should have made the semi-finals of Challenge Cup. We got key seniors, just King hit Barry John Mathers and just knocked him out and didn't get sent off, and that sort of changed the whole game. We should have made the
Yep.
semis. Yeah, and then we came just outside the sixth or whatever, outside the five back then, and but we had a really good year. I had a really good year, probably one of the best years I've ever played, and
Yep.
just became captain. I ended up becoming captain at the end of '97, and I'd moved to lock by the end of '97 as well. And I just loved that playing there, and you still play as a ball players. Back then, the lock was a ball playing lock, and
Yep. Yep.
and I just Shane Flanagan was the assistant coach as well when Stuart
Really?
Draper came over.
Really?
Yeah, so Flano, he was really good, and but it's funny. Like, I used to hang around my wife at the time, hang around with Flano and Rapes. We'd go on holiday together, which is weird going on holiday with the coach, but sort of what
Yeah.
you did over there, I guess. But yeah, we're all still mates today. And then he's a good coach, Stuart Raper, so good. He
Yeah.
just one of the best. Well, one of the best coaches I've ever had. Just I love playing for him, and I would have again run through the brick wall for him.
Brilliant, man. So, how long are the seasons in the UK? Because you've got your regular premiership, you've got all these cups that they introduce. Like, do you like the system? Because I also read you had a great win, like a super win in the dying stages of a game to beat Leeds on the buzzer after you put up a bomb and Andrew Schick scored from it, and like the crowd went mental.
Oh mate, that again, like that was in '98, and it was Graham Murray's first game actually. Graham Murray's first game as coach, and yeah, come man, I've just put this massive bomb up, and Shicky's, and so Shicky and my dad played together many years ago back in bush footy. So
Wow.
funny how it all works out, um, and I put this bomb up, and he's caught it and scored, and I just the crowd were right behind him. They've just gone bonkers, like bonkers, and it was just crazy. So it
The
was such a
best
good.
day.
Oh man, they and you know that made them because they love winning, but when they hate Leeds. So when we beat Leeds at Leeds as well, yeah, it was, and
Okay.
we've beaten them that we beat them a couple of times that year as well. So it was
Massive.
yeah, it was crazy, and yeah, we thought, oh, this is our year. Challenge Cup is amazing, like it's amazing, and I love playing in it.
Mate, I need to get along to a Challenge Cup final one day. That's on my bucket list. Because my missus is from the UK. She's from Leicestershire, but I've
Oh
got her
yeah,
into rugby league. So when we get
good.
over there to go visit her family, we're definitely going to go to a Challenge Cup. I've got
Yeah,
to
you
go.
have to, you have to.
Yeah, man. So like, did you like the? Obviously, you would have loved the cup system, but like, it was quite a long season. How did you cope with
Oh,
like that lengthy season?
yeah, well, I didn't miss a game until halfway through 1999. So I played every game, and it was long. Like it was long. Like
Yeah.
even when we come second last in '97, we then every team sort of made the back then the semi-finals. We end up kept on winning. So we knocked off Halifax, Bradford, and then we're 18-0 up against St Helens to make the final, and then we got run
Wow.
down at the end. And so play. I think I played 30 something games that first year. But then on
Far out.
East, and then if there was catch up games because of the weather, so a lot of times we played Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday. One time we played uh, Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday, I think something like that. Like it was
Wow.
ridiculous. Like you just
The
yeah
body must
you
have hurt, man. Like the
well
recovery, it's
you
not there.
just how because every Easter you play Thursday and Monday every Easter or Friday and Monday. But
Yep.
it's like I say to people, it's like on the Friday you feel like you got shoulder pads on, then on the Monday it feels like you got bare bone because you're just that
Oh,
sore, and it's
far out.
but it was good I guess because you didn't have to train, you just played.
I guess so. Yeah, there is that. It's more fun to
Yeah,
play. Do you reckon the NRL should introduce like a cup or a couple of cups into the comp to make it interesting, especially when clubs are having a bad year and they're out of the running, but then there's something else to play for?
yeah, I like it because it wasn't always the top teams that won. Like it
Yeah.
just if you play good on the day, you win, and that happens. And yeah, it was amazing. Like I loved it. I'd love to see even that in a bush comp, like somehow
Yeah.
put all the bush teams in a comp and do it like that. If you had the money, and yeah, it'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah, man. Like ever since I started this podcast, I've had a lot of people who've played in the Super League now. So I didn't know a great deal about all the cups, but now I'm just like, oh my God, why don't we do all the cups? These are amazing. We should have them.
Yeah, well, they used to play so many more games even back in the day. They had so many
Yeah.
cups, cup for everything.
Yeah, man. Right, 1999. You have an amazing, unreal season. You played 32 games. You had a really good run in the Challenge Cup, like just missing out on going to Wembley by seconds. A heartbreaking loss in the semi-final. Can you talk us through the game and just how massive was it for you to play? You know, it's such a big game.
Oh, we played such good footy, and we were confident of being in London, and oh, we didn't. We were a bit nervous. Took us a little bit to get down stride, and then we got ahead, and then they've kicked off and got the ball back, and then just scored in the dying seconds. Steel Castleford, who I first met in that QRL camp many years ago, broke our hearts, and it was the
Yeah.
last ever game at the old Wembley as well. So
Wow.
we would have played Leeds, so we had a great record against Leeds. So and then London played Leeds and got smashed. And Peter Gill, I was happy for Peter Gill. He's a really good mate, and I was happy for him. As hard as it was for us, I was happy that he got that opportunity. He's a great fella, and yeah, and Steele, of course. But yeah, it's just I was gutted, gutted.
Yeah, mate, I can understand that. But you also went deep into the finals, so because you were doing a playoff system for the premiership back then, is that right?
Yeah, we're top five, top five.
Top five. Okay, so you beat powerhouses Wigan and Leeds. You've spent all these years with struggling clubs, and now you're going deep into finals. You're playing in Challenge Cup semi-finals. How amazing was that, to finally come around to successful times at a club?
Oh, it was so good. We beat Wigan at the first ever time they played at their new ground, and we're up for it. We're up for it. Stuart Raver said, like, we've done all the hard work to get here. That's the hardest thing you can do is to get here. Let's just relax now and play some footy and enjoy it. And that's what we did. And he'd recruited really well that year with Aaron Raper, Michael Eager, Dale Fritz, Big
Oh,
James Pickering,
nice.
plus all the English boys, Dean, Sam, Danny, everyone at Cummer age, Lee Harlan, Richard Gay, all these fellas, and everyone played really well for him. We're all mates off the field, but we're really good mates off the field as we're partners. And yeah, blokes like Aaron Raper was, he's one of the best hookers I've ever played alongside.
Yeah,
So good, clever. Dale Fritz, he just, you know, hits like a train, and big, big James Pickering, just you don't mess with him, and
mess with them.
Mick Eager. Yeah, it was really good. And but the bloke called Brad Davis, who was an Aussie but been in England for a million years, like he was amazing for us. Like he's one of the best halfbacks I've ever played with. He was so good, and no one even know who he is. And
Yeah,
he was amazing. But we beat Wigan at Wigan, and that was just
how good.
crazy. And the fans have gone mad. And then we beat Leeds at Leeds, which
Yeah.
even mad, like the whole town was buzzing. And then yeah, we just couldn't quite beat again. St Helens couldn't quite beat them in the semi to get the grand final. It's disappointing.
They're always so up there, eh? St. Helens and Wigan, those big clubs, they just seem to have that extra 1% on the
They
day.
were a bogey side, St Helens. We beat them, drew once, I think, when I was at Cass. I beat them when I was at Wakefield, but yeah, that was such a good side.
Absolutely. So, if that wasn't enough, you were named at Lock in the Super League Dream Team of the Year, and you picked up the Man of Steel award, becoming the first ever Queenslander and Castleford player to ever do so. I mean, how sweet is that, man?
Oh, mate. I was happy to get the invite to go there, get on the drink. I was throwing them down because I didn't think I was going to win it. So, and then all the other awards, they said a little bit about them. Just say you were nominated. They said a bit at you, and then when it came to the Man of Steel, they saying, "Oh yeah," and started talking about me, and then said, I went, "Oh, they're doing the same," and then they said he's the first Castleford player to ever win the Man of Steel, and I've gone. I looked over at Mick McDonald, who's an Aussie who did our marketing. Great fella, and he's
Yeah,
gone, "You won it." I went, "Holy shit!" I couldn't believe it.
far
Stuart
out.
Rape was there, and my wife at the time, Kerry, and yeah, it was just amazing feeling. And I got up there, and the first person I thanked was Tim Sheens for flicking me out the Cowboys. So got the award. So did all right.
Mate, that's got to make you like, when you look back at it, you got to go, you know what, that's pretty bloody special. Everything
Uh,
worked out. You got that moment that you thoroughly deserved. You worked your ass off and you got the
yeah,
accolades, mate. That's just so cool.
you can see it. It's right behind me. My
Yeah, man, I
photo.
thought that was it.
Uh,
That's unreal.
oh yeah, it was just, but it was again, you don't win those awards if not for your team, So we just had a great year, great bunch of blokes, and great coach and coaching staff, and training staff as well. So yeah, it was we were good. It was awesome.
Yeah, man. So, year 2000, you're called up to play for Scotland at the World Cup, but I read you didn't even know you're eligible to play for them. So, how did you find out that you could, and how did you get selected for Scotland?
Mick McDonald, um, Dad told me. Yeah, Dad told me that I had eligibility. And Mick McDonald, who I just mentioned, was the marketing guy. He was the manager for Scotland. Sean McRae was the coach, and yeah, it was all going very quickly. I found out that, and I had to get a few things and sorted, and then yeah, and next minute playing for Scotland, learning, bloody national anthem, and I was worried I'd have to wear a kilt, but I didn't have to do that. And yeah,
Eat some
it was
haggis,
yeah, well that didn't worry, but it was. yeah, it was awesome. It was so good, and again, as you know, we played New Zealand Maryside, and Ireland and Samoa. I think were the three
Oh, yep.
teams. And my good mate Willie Poaching was playing for Samoa, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Like we had to beat Samoa to if we beat them, we played Australia. I think we just lost, I think, but it was a good comp. Just didn't quite have the players to get us over the line.
Yeah, so like, because you didn't know you had eligibility, what was it like actually standing there? You know, because you probably never expected to play international footy at that point, and you're like standing there singing the national anthem for Scotland. Like, what's that experience like?
Mate, it's funny, mate. He was proud. I was proud. It was goosebumps. Like
Awesome.
hard to explain. It was pretty awesome. And yeah, and then yeah, stand there in the front of the haka, absolutely bricking
Yeah.
it. And yeah, oh shit. But yeah, it was crazy, you know. And so we were Nico was obviously playing in that side, and he was an
Yeah.
ex-Cas legend.
He is too.
Uh, yeah, so they love him over there, and so that was pretty cool to play against T. And
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of those players, Terry Hermanson, who you had on the
Yeah.
potty before, he was in that side, and yeah, a lot of good players, a lot of good
Yeah,
players.
man. Yeah, mate. I would have hated to stand against that Hucker man, Taweda, and like you say, Terry, and you know, you actually guys nearly beat them. You only went down like by a point or something, didn't you?
Yeah, it was close. It was. I watched it. I watched it not so long ago. And it was a good game. I forgotten how close it was, and it was like, geez, that went down to the wire. Awesome.
Yeah, man. And you're like coming up against guys like Waitangi Korpu, David Kidwell, Clinton Torpey, Sean Hoppy, Gene Namu, Paul Rohi, you know, Tyron Smith and Taweda Nico, like Terry Hermanson. Pretty stacked side, man. You
Yeah,
guys
it's a
only
good
lost by a
side.
point.
It's a good side. Remember we played. We went and had a game of skirmish against Cook Islands. I think is Willie Mason. Is he at Cook Island? Wherever he. I remember playing skirmish against those boys as a lead up to that game, and then
No,
playing
really.
the games. But we didn't get crowds because there's no one follows rugby league in Scotland or Ireland. It was sort of they probably had him at the wrong place. They should have played him in rugby league heartland. And but again, a wonderful experience. And yeah, we played Ireland and Campo because in your podcast at Campo was going to come to England the next year. And so Campo actually gave me a whole suitcase of stuff to leave with me. So when he saves him bringing it back over, and
Yeah.
then he didn't end up coming back over and stayed in Australia. And then I had to take that whole suitcase all the way back to Australia for it. Crazy.
Oh, funny. You actually scored a try against Samoa. Do you remember the try and the experience? What it's like to, like, because you said was the crowd not so big for that game?
Oh, it was all right. That was probably our biggest crowd, I think. Yeah, I scored in the
Okay.
corner. Yeah, it was we were busted too as a team. We'd had a few injuries, and but yeah, it was just a good experience. And the late Mike Gregory, who's a legend, Warrington legend, he was assistant coach, and he passed away. He's passed away now from MND, but he was good. I got to know. You got just getting to know the beauty about rep footy. You get to play a bloke you play
Yeah.
against, and all of a sudden you get to know them, and it's like the old boys games that we play now. All these people I've never met, and you get to know them, and it's footies are such a great thing.
Do you find they're all just like, I know everyone's got different personalities, but we all are the same in the fact we love rugby league. Like there's rugby league people. You know, you just find you get on with most of them.
Yeah, I do, and it's crazy. You don't. I say to people, you don't meet too many shit people. I don't reckon.
Yeah.
I haven't in my time, and yeah, we're all different, and we all have our different things to do. But you know, everyone looks out for each other pretty well in rugby league, I think. And you see that when someone's crook or someone's going through hard times, and
Yeah.
everyone, gets. We did it with Carl Webb last year for the game there, and which
Yeah.
Redcliffe, and that's what it's all about. It's when you retire, you miss that. You miss that camaraderie. You miss the competitiveness. You miss everything. Like it's hard.
It must be a real wake up call after retiring. I mean, you know, like to go from all of that, like you just described, to go to, oh, I got to find a job, or find a job within footy, or like how did you
Yeah.
go through that?
Well, it ends straight away. It's not
Yeah,
like it basically you play your last game and then it ends. It's
that's it.
over. Like it's crazy. Like it's I guess like it'd be like working at a job and then you go, well, you're out, you're not working again. But you don't work in that job again in terms of playing footy when you retire. So I did. And they didn't write a book about it. Um,
No,
so yeah, I had my struggles. That's for sure. That's for sure.
okay. So year 2002, you left Castleford and you signed with Leeds Rhinos. So why did you leave your beloved Tigers, and how did you end up with Leeds?
Well, I didn't ever want to leave Cass. They downgraded my contract, and I just thought I'm not staying for that. And then was playing hardball, and I spoke to Danny Orr, and he said, "Why don't you just say to him, can you negotiate with other clubs?" And that sort of put the pressure on them. And then they said, "Yes, you can." Yes, I can. I went, "Oh, they don't want me," and I was
Okay.
still captain of the club, and so then I sort of back then you're right, used to send faxes, like to clubs. I didn't
Oh,
have a
fantastic.
manager.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
that's it.
and then Leeds came in. Leeds came in, which I didn't want to go to Leeds.
Really?
I hated Leeds at the time because that
Oh, of
rivalry.
course, the rivalry.
But they came in and it was a good offer. And Gary Hetherington, who I knew, um, so then he rang the club, Casper, to see if can he negotiate with him. They said yes. So they knew. So they were
Okay.
supposed to come back on a certain day with another offer, and they didn't. So I agreed. I didn't sign anything. I agreed in a handshake with
Yeah.
Gary, and he was going to Australia the next day. And I said, yeah. And then Cass said, oh, we were going to come back with a better offer. And I said, well, you didn't. And then I didn't want to go, but I'd given Gary a handshake, and for me, a handshake's
Yep. Old
bond,
school.
and
Yep.
I, yeah. So I went to Leeds, and uh, the supporters had got a petition signed for 8,000 signatures to keep me, and they
Oh,
were
really?
gutted. But then they were angry once I signed with Leeds. They didn't,
Yeah.
without knowing the full story.
Right.
They know now, like but it's just. But then I got the lead. I enjoyed it there. Like Rob Burrows, Kev Sinfield, all these young ones coming through. Chev Walker, Danny Maguire, Barry
Yep.
McDermott. I used to have some good run-ins with him, and Key Senior, a lot of
Yeah, man.
players, and yeah. So it was just a bigger club, much bigger club and more money, and as in the club had more money, and yeah, it was. I enjoyed it while I was there.
Yeah, so what was the playing group like? Like you mentioned a lot of players like Keith Senior. There's Francis Cummings, Ben Walker, Evan Sinfield, Matt Adamson. To a few players people might recognise from the Australian comp. Like, did you feel like you fitted in straight away? Did they accept you? Like,
Yeah,
how
no,
did
they were
that whole
pretty good.
process go?
It sort of it was a bit hard. Well, I was all right because I've been there in England for 5 years to that point. But the year before, Brett Mullins and Clyde had played for him and hardly played a game and just didn't do well. So there's a bit of an anti-Aussie flavour there, and
Right.
um,
Okay.
yeah, so it was a little bit different in that sense. Wasn't as tight knit as Cass, but yeah. So Benny Walker, yeah, obviously, um, he's got we've got mutual friends from Charleville, and so we got to know each and we hung out a fair bit. And then Sam Walker was born over there as well, and
Oh, true.
yeah, so
He
but
had a blinder last week.
yeah, he did, yeah.
He did.
So Cab Sinfield, you just knew he was always going to be a leader, And I said
Yep.
before I left, mate, you need to put your hand up for captain because you're just a natural leader. But I sort of played a bit of every lock, hooker, back row, and
Yep.
we were going all right. Daryl Powell was a coach, and he yeah, it was. And then I got an offer. I got an offer to phone call one day, asked me if I would I coach a Super League team,
Far
be a
out.
player coach, and I've gone who, and they wouldn't tell me. I went player coach, and it turns out it was Wakefield. So I went,
Okay.
I got the offer to go there, and I've gone. I've coached. I've been coaching, but I've never coached at that level. And So then I was talking to Benny Walker, and Benny was just go for it, mate. Just do it. Like
Yeah.
you got to back yourself. And so I went, all right, gonna I'm gonna back myself. So did all the stuff and then agreed to go and did the transfer. And then Wakefield came to me and said, oh, come to my house, said, oh, something to do with the visa, but can you be a player coach, but share the duties with Shane McNally, who's the interim coach, and I didn't back myself enough. I should have just said no. I want because you really can't have two coaches. And anyway,
Okay.
but Shane and I, he passed away unfortunately last year, Shane. But
Okay.
yeah. So they were coming last when we went there. So it was a
Mate,
crazy time to go there.
sounds like the Seagulls all over again.
Uh, yeah, it was because I made sure I was always going to get my money because they had a bit of a habit of at the at the time not paying the wages. But again, great club, loved it. Very similar to Cass in a lot of ways, but great
Yep.
people. Yeah, really loved it there.
So was it because you came in playing coaching, and I think you were instrumental in helping Wakefield avoid relegation. Like how satisfying was that?
Yeah, we had to win the last game, but then had to rely on Cass beating Salford as well. So
Really?
when I was at Leeds, I went to Willie Poaching's house, and they had a pig on the spit with the other Kiwi boys from Bradford, and
Yeah.
so on that last because Willie had gone to Leeds as well, uh, so I thought when we were at that last game, I thought we've got to make it like just so it's everyone's relaxed. So I said to Marty Moana, mate, can you do a pig on a spit? We get a pig and you do the pig. Yeah, so we did that and sort of had a relaxed
Okay.
week and played bowls and did all stuff, just trying. And then we end up winning 50-10 or something in the last
Far out.
game against Nat Wood Warrington, and I
That's
scored
right.
my first ever hat trick, and Brad Davis, who'd come from Castleford, scored his hat trick, and then we had to wait 20 minutes for the result of the other game. It was like, do you celebrate? Because we could have been in tears, but then when we won, it was just amazing.
Oh, mate, that's such a good story. So, before we move on to the next chapter, actually, when you were at Leeds, you went to a semi-final. Was it a Challenge Cup semi-final? Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
no, St Helens again. It was St Helens
Yes,
again
that's the one. Yeah,
at
how
Wigan.
massive was
Yeah,
that?
it was amazing again. I thought I'm a chance again. And then we lost again. I'm going, I'm jinxed. I'm jinxed. Can't bloom and win anything. But yeah, it was. And then Stuart Raper, he'd gone to Wigan then, so he coached Wigan. They won the Challenge Cup, so I was happy for him. But yeah,
Yes,
so close again, so close. Yeah.
so close. Just couldn't quite get there. Couldn't quite.
Oh,
So you made one final club move to round off your career. You went back to where it all started at Castleford. How did this last move happen? How special was it to go back to where you made your career? Because you were at the crossroads when Castleford signed you up. So how satisfying was that to go back home to Castleford?
yeah, it's good. Like the last year Wakefield, we improved. We didn't even have a weights coach. Like I was going to put a weights coach. I ended up doing all the weights program, and then we got another bloke come over from uh, Australia just to stay with Michael Korkitis, and he ended up doing the weights, taking over, doing it properly. I was just doing what I knew, but he took it over properly. So we had a good weights program then, and then yeah, we had a good year. And then I come to the end, I said, what are you doing? I need to know whether you keep me on or keep me on. And they couldn't make a decision, and they said, oh, we're not going to keep you on if you're going to make a decision. Well, I said, I've got to work out my future because
Yeah, man.
I've got to. And then I was talking to Danny Orr again from Cass. He said, come back to Cass for the last 3 games, and they were still a chance to make the semi. So all worked out, and I went back to Cass, and it was just amazing. It was just like being at home again. It was,
Yeah.
you know, I love Wakey, but I love being back at Cass, and I still lived in Cass the whole time, mind you. So um,
Okay.
the kids, three of my kids were born in Castleford as well, in Pontefract, and so yeah, so it was good to be back. And then they asked me to stay again for like the next year, and then we sort of made a decision to go home. So yeah, it was 7 years.
Good time, man. So, what happened to Castle? Why did they drop all the way down to possible relegation? What went wrong in your time away from them?
I don't know. I really don't know because I got offered to come back the next year. I got offered to come back over because they were going
Okay.
no good, and I contemplated it, but I was very close to playing NRL with Broncos, so I was like, I can't go back.
Oh,
I can't go back, and then they just didn't like Graham Stedman's coaching, I don't think, and then a number of things, and just think they'd lost the same work ethic as well, and yeah, couldn't believe it,
yeah.
got relegated just like crazy.
Unbelievable, eh? A lot of clubs have declined from the Super League, from sort of that time,
Oh,
but you wouldn't recognise the comp now, like some of the big clubs in second division. It's quite sad, really.
well, Bradford Bulls is a perfect example. Like, they were the major club when I was over there.
Powerhouse.
It was
Yeah,
amazing, amazing game day experience, everything, and then they just there's always someone robbing or taking money or doing something. It's
yeah.
terrible.
Oh, mate, that's sad. So you played in a very special match. It was the National League One Grand Final, which was that promotion relegation match to get back into Super League. Who were you playing, and just how massive was that match for you?
Well, that was massive. So I that was in. So I went back in '04 and played for the Clydesdales. Nearly played first grade with the Bronx, and then '05 went and played for Burleigh Bears, which made the Q Cup Grand Final, which we lost. And I'm going jinxed, jinxed. And then 2 days later, I got offer to come back, and I said, "Oh, I'll come back, but I've got to finish the season here." So I flew straight back and then played in the semis, which were 18-0 up against Whitehaven, got beaten. And then we beat Halifax and we made the grand final. And yeah, we won it. And I've gone, finally, finally, I've won a grand final since
Yes.
1988, the last time. And yeah, it was amazing. The supporters are just, it was like just being back home again. It was so good to pull a jersey on. But when we won it, like the whole town was crazy. It was just, and Brad Davis, who, we played together when we escaped relegation '97, and same at Wakefield, and he was back at Cass and he had a blinder. Yeah, it was just good to be back playing beside him, and yeah, it was good times.
What a way to finish off, you got a grand final. Like, what a way to go. How good, man. So, if you could pick one highlight from your career, or a season, which one would it be? What's the big one for you?
You get it's too hard really, but you can't go past putting on a Queensland jersey. I think that's definitely a highlight. But yeah, um, I don't know. For me, when I ran out Castleford as captain, running out onto the home ground in front of that crowd, that's pretty special. Didn't matter what
Yeah,
game it was. Yeah, so I just loved it. But yeah, hard to pick.
what a career, mate. What a career. Right, let's finish with a few of my questions that I ask everyone. So, which club do you support in the NRL and I guess Super League as well?
Cowboys in the NRL, but always got a soft spot for the Titans, the Broncos, Melbourne
Yeah,
Storm. I like those clubs, but Cowboys the number one side. Castleford in England's my side. So yep.
nice, nice. Okay, so who do you think is going to win the NRL in 2024?
I think the Bronx. I think the
Really?
Broncos. Yeah, I think the Broncos
Cool.
this
Yeah, another year with Reece Walsh with experience for the grand final now. He's Ramam, all those young boys. They should
year. Yeah.
learn from last year.
Yeah, I've always got a soft spot for saying that. Sorry, the Warriors. I think everyone
Yeah,
does really. Now that Kurt Capel, Charlie boys over there as well, like I sort of, I like that. And, same as when Campo was there. Love and when he and
yeah,
I were clearing that were there. Uh, yeah, I always got a soft spot for the Wires.
yeah, yeah. They're pretty popular over here. Right, okay. So what's your favorite TV show of all time?
Doctor Who,
Really? The old one, not this new modern one, right?
the old Doctor Who, because we only had the
Yeah.
one TV channel, as I said, and Doctor Who was a regular. Used to scare the absolute shit out of me. I'd be hiding behind a pillow, have nightmares. But I watched every episode 20 times over. Yeah, that was my favorite show.
My mum and dad wouldn't let me watch it.
I used to have to make mum sit beside me when I was about grade one because it would get scary.
No, I
Oh,
would have
mate,
had nightmares for sure. Oh, I get the
yeah,
worst nightmares as a kid.
I love
Okay,
it.
man. Final question. Let's go. If you were on death row, what would your final meal be?
I think uh, roast, roast beef,
Yeah,
roast beef, and vegetables and gravy.
yeah. Dirty old spuds on the side.
Yeah, that would do me.
Perfect, mate. Loving it. Oh, well, thanks heaps so much, man, for coming on the show, going back in the day with me. It's been an absolute treat, man. Hearing about your stories, the journey. It's an amazing story, the highs, the lows, and the one-win seasons and 11 losses in a row, but then running out for Queensland, mate, doesn't get much better. Finishing on a high of the grand final.
Yeah, well, I just enjoyable. It's more the mates I've made and lessons I've learned. I was a sort of shy kid, and then I've taken what I've learned in rugby league into business. And all the stuff that you use in sport translates to business, and yeah, and the contacts that you make and friends that you make. I have friends for life all over the world, and you know, uh, hopefully we get to meet one day, and then that's just what it's all about. Rugby league brings people together.
Absolutely, man. It's the best. I absolutely love it. So thanks again, man. And thank you to everyone out there for listening on Spotify, watching on YouTube. And make sure you get on the Facebook group, Point of Difference Rugby League. Adrian Vowles is on there. There's heaps of legend in the group. We absolutely love it. And yeah, man, take care and thanks for your time. And we'll see you all next time for kickoff.
Thank you.
Full time.